All right, good morning once again. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's class, front-end beginner and JavaScript. Yeah, last week we talked about well, previous classes we've been dealing with API, how to fetch, how to manipulate the API to our own use, how to post, and how to get data. Well, from last class we didn't do the delete. I think we did it in our one of our extra classes. So the delete. So today we are basically going to be checking out the array methods, the different type of array methods and how to use them, why are they needed and what are they used for. So let's just get straight into class. We don't really have much time. So well, I'll be using this for that. I'll be using KodeCamp for that because I don't need to go to the terminal every time. So can we all see my screen now? Can we all see my screen?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. So array methods, let's start with this. Array method basically means the ways in which you can modify your array, in which you can manipulate your array. That's just basically the methods. So that's what they mean by array method. How can you have array dot push, array dot that one, you already know that one, dot push, dot pop, and all of that. Then we have array dot map, we have array dot filter, array dot find, array dot slice, array dot sort also. So we have different type of array like that. So we're going to just see how we can fix, because I have to jump on this because I think after this class we have another class on Thursday, and that may be all because project phase we don't have time to hold classes anymore. People will be so busy and other stuff, right? So I have to see how I can cover this before today and then on Thursday. All right. So under this array method, we are going to be talking about array dot map, which you already know. We're talking about the map filter, the filter method, the find method, right?
Boss, please increase your screen, sir.
Okay, thank you about that. Okay, so we are going to talk about the filter, the map, the find. Talk about map, filter, find, sort, the sort method. Talk about the slice method. I think we did that before. Then we can talk about well, let's see how we can cover these ones first. There are a lot of array method. I'm trying to understand, trying to remember, sorry. There are like thousands of it. So also we'll talk about one thing, which is the for loop, right? The for loop, we'll talk about the for loop and also the while loop, if possible, if we have the time. This may not be everything today, but we're going to see how we can get to most of this. While loop, for in loop, for off loop, right? So we have this loop. If we could not cover everything, I'm just listing it out for us so that we can also see how we can make research on all of this in case we could not cover everything during our class. So we have the while loop, for in loop, for off loop. We have the conditions. We have the conditions. I think we've done this before. We already know that. We have the if statement, right? We have the switch. We have a lot of stuff in JavaScript that we cannot actually cover. We have the switch. We have, okay, let's see how we can just start with the first one. Now, array method, like I said, are the methods in which you can use to manipulate your array, to display, to remove, add, and all of those things. And then, lest I forget, we need to talk about index also. Indexes. We have index of, right? So, yeah, so let's see, let's create a data first. Let's see how we can create a data. Okay, I think I can use this. See how I can use this. All right, no problem. I'll do that. Thank you, George. I want to copy their own data here and see how I can use it. Let me just copy this object. Okay, do I look all right? Yeah, thank you. So let's say my array equals to, I'll just place the object there. So I just copied their own objects from what they provided for us. But yeah, it's more like it's too much. It's about 100. So let's just reduce it to, say, let's use 20. Okay, I'm targeting 20. All right. So now we have just 20 data, an array data that we want to manipulate and use. So the first thing is the map method, right? The map method, we've done that severally. We know how to map already. Map is just basically to display all your item based on how their index is, right? Just display it, everything at once based on how their index is. So we could say, let's create a function, right? Or let's just say, yeah, let's create a function. Testing, just for example, right? Okay, let me explain another type of creating a function for us. We have the ES6 method of creating a function. The initial one that we know about is this function, my func, right? This is the normal method of function that we already know. And then we can pass our instruction here, and then we can now call the function to use it. But the ES6 is just like an advancement in JavaScript, just a way to make JavaScript better and easily readable, right? So then they introduce the arrow function in the ES6, right? So what is an arrow function? It's basically written in this way: const my func is almost the same thing, just a different method of writing it, equals to this, and then this, and then this. So this is the same thing as this. This method is also the same thing as this. It's just basically, okay, here we have function, my func. This is just the name of the function, right? Then we have a parenthesis, and then we have our block code where we can have our instructions. So the same thing here, constant, my func, basically, let's say function, constant, my function equals to, then a parenthesis, which will take all the parameters, right? And then the arrow function here, and then our instruction is going to go inside these curly braces. So this is the same thing. In case you see it anywhere that someone have a function like this, definitely I want you to understand that this function is also the same thing as this. While this is the this is ES6 approach. This is the latest function creation. So this is the latest approach, and it's called the ES6 arrow function. When they say use an arrow function to create this particular block of code, this is what you're going to use. Arrow function. Just look at it. Constant, my function. This could be anything. It could be calculate. It could be calc num. It could be anything. This is just a function name. Then equals to, you get your parentheses and then your arrow function. Although at some point I always stick to this one because I can easily remember this, but trust me, when you move forward, you get to understand why this one is important when you're using React, because, well, when you get to there, we'll just talk about it. So that's basically it. But for now, let's go with the latest. Let's just go with the latest arrow function. All right. So now we create a function, we call it let's just call it testing, something like that. And then let's call it out. That's first thing. Testing, right? That's it. So I've called my function outside. So anything I'm doing now is going to be displayed outside, but let's console it. So let me save it inside a variable first. Let's say const result will now be equals to this. Then I'll say CLG result. So for now, I created a function testing, right? An arrow function. And then I'm calling it out here, testing. That means anything I'm doing here should show here, right? But I don't want to wrap all of this inside a console. I decided to what? to store this thing, whatever return this thing is bringing, store it inside your res, then console.log the res to see the response. So if I say return 2, for example, then I'll get res is now equals to what? 2, because this testing is returning 2, and then this 2 is equals to res, and then console.log res will give us what? 3. So now let's try with the map. I want to list all these, right, at the same time. So I would say my array, I can even say let's list all, for example, be equals to my array dot map, right? So I'll just represent my array with each of the objects with a variable. I can say ARR, right? Then yeah. So this is it. This same thing that we are using is also the same thing as having it like this. Let's not get confused here. But because it is just one, when you have just one parameter, here, if it is not up to 2, you can either leave it like this or you remove the parentheses since it is not up to 2. So this is going to work very fine. But if you see, okay, let's say I have the array object and I want to use the index also. For example, inside the array, you need the array as the object, and then you need the index of the object. So it is required that you add index like this. So this one, you cannot leave it like this open. You have to wrap it in what? In a parenthesis so you can have access to it. So it's also the same thing. So if I should do something like this, let's not get confused. It's also the same thing. So then I will say console.log, or let's say return ARR, right? So then I'll say, now let's look at this thing like this. Inside my function, I have let's list all. I'm saving my array.map inside what? Inside list all. So which means that anything that I'm returning here is going to be equal to what? List all. So basically, if I want to, this return now, this thing cannot see it yet because this return is inside a map, is all inside another function code. It's inside another block of code, sorry, right? So our function outside is not seeing this return yet. So how can this function see this return? Is by saying, we're already returning this and storing it inside list all. So for us to be able to see this thing now, we say return list all, right? So if you return list all now, you get all the variables. So we can say return array dot, let's just say return array dot ID, right? That's what we want to return. So we get all the list of the ID inside the array. But like I said, you can either have it this way. If you don't want to go through that stress, you can say return here, right? So you remove this return. You can say return my array.map. But one thing about block of code is when you have a block of code, you have to return something. That thing that you are returning is going outside that same block of code. It is not being seen at the upper block of code, meaning that, okay, here is 147 is a block of code. From here, this parent curly braces to here is a block of code, right? So this return is not being seen outside this block. So for us to be able to see this thing now is, okay, you return it now, and then we will now return this thing. That means anything that is happening here, I want you to return it as your own return here. So now console.log response will now give us everything that we have outside. But then this is not a good practice. It is best to just say, you can say response still, then you can now say equals to my array. You can now say return response. So you still get the same thing. And a return, you cannot have to return in one block of code. You cannot have two return in one block of code, meaning that if I have this return, the first return, and I want to have another return here, then the second one is going to be graded out. That means it's not working. If I say second. So currently now, this return is what is graded out, which means it is unreachable. Any return, whenever you have return above, then anything below it is what is cancelled out. This return now, we cancel everything below it. I can even have let's something here, but this one cannot be seen. It's all going to be what graded out because it has been cancelled. Return, everything stops at the place where you have your return statement. So we cannot have two return statements in the same block of code, right? But don't worry, why are we having return here and then we are having return here? Is because this is a different block while this is a different environment, a different block. So we can have this one and this one separately, right? Even if we have this function in another function, we still have to do return this function also for us to be able to have access to the response. Any question on that? If you have any question, you can just drop it as chat if you don't want to omit yourself. But then if we are good, let's just move forward to the next thing. Okay, so at the same time, while I'm using my map, let's assume I'm not interested in the map, right? I'm only interested in what? In the array. In the index of, I'm not interested in the object, I'm interested in the index of each of the objects. So I'll add index here. This one can also be anything. It could be ID, it could be ID, it could be IDX, it could be just know that the first just know that have it at the back of your mind that the first variable of a parameter is what? The object. It's like an instance of the object, of a single object, while the second parameter is always what? Is the index. So it is anywhere, even in any array method, if you have arr.filter, for example, and then you have something like this, E and then I, then you should know that E is what? The object, each of the object of the array, while I is what? The index. That's how it is anywhere in the world. The first one is the object, while the second one is what? The index. So now let's see, we have our array and then we have our index. So we'll say return what? Index. So this will give us the index of all the array that we have, which is 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. I can manipulate this thing and say, I can manipulate this thing and say, okay, I want to return, if the index is greater than this, I don't want to return it. I can add a condition here. I can say, if index, right? This if statement is a condition, it allows us to pass a condition. If index is greater than, let's say 20. I think we have 20. If index is greater than 14, right? Now return array dot ID. So listen to this. We are saying if index is greater than 14, return array dot ID. That means I want you to not look at any index, any object that their index is less than 14. The only thing I want you to return for me is what? The array that they have their index that is greater than 14. So this is the meaning. If you check the output now, we have undefined for the one that is less than 14, and then that is greater than 14, and then why? Okay, because it's +1. Let's just use if index +1, that's why we're not getting 15. All right, so we should be able to get 15, yeah, because index will always start from 0. So that's why anything below 14 is not showing, right? So now we have 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. But there's one problem. What if I don't want this undefined to show? What if I don't like the undefined that is showing there? So there is a method that you use, they call it flat map. Okay. That should work. Someone is trying to...
So I'm lost. So
you're lost. Okay, let's come back home. Who said that? Let me know. Is it David?
Elijah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, let's come back home. Is anyone lost also? I know we are lost, but let's feel free to just talk. I've been say your mind.
I'm lost too. I'm at the market.
Okay, no worry, we'll bring you up. Okay, so here is what we are trying to say. Let's go to normal mathematics. Normal mathematics here. So we have a condition first. For every condition, the condition has to pass for a function to run. If you say if 1 is greater than 4, right? Then inside that block of code, you say console.log this. Yes. Then it will not run because this condition is what? Is false. But then if you now say S, yeah, if you add S statement here, that means if this condition is false, right, then run this one. But if the condition is true, run this thing and then leave this one alone. So we can now say else CLG console.log no, then this one will run. So that's the idea of condition. If you check first, you pass a condition. If true, if 1 is equals to 4, basically how condition works is if true, yeah, if true, right, run this, else run this. Then this true is always true, so that's why it's going to run it. But then we have to set a condition for here that if something is equals to, I can say if 24 divided by 5 is equal to 1, then run. But then this is wrong now, is it not? It's wrong. That means this thing is definitely what? False. So then if it is false, it will now come down to the S statement and then run its own true. But then in some cases, we can even check again that if you have another condition that checks else if 24 divided by 5 is not equal to, remember the not equals to sign is not equals to 1, then do what? CLG not equal to, right? But then this one is going to work because this is not equals to 1. So this definitely going to, so we don't need to come down here to do anything again. So we can say else if a couple of times, right? We can say it a couple of times. In some cases, we have a lot to talk about. I'm just trying to see how we can integrate everything to one thing that we are doing. In some cases, let's forget this for now. In some cases, we may want to have a couple of else if. So we can say if this is true, then run this. Else if this is true, then run this. Else is. You can have like 100 else is, right? And then you're still going to be fine. So in this case now, we are saying we created a function, arrow function. Arrow function is basically the same thing as our initial function. There's nothing different. It's just the ES6 approach, the ES6 advancement to make our function efficient. That's why they come up with arrow function. Okay, so here we have testing equals to the parenthesis that we used to have. If I should show us the normal function, here is this function test, then here, then here. So this is also the same thing as what we have above. The only thing that is changing here is you change this function to what? A const, and then you add this, you add equals to here, and then you add arrow function here. So it's also the same thing. You don't need to understand why it is like that. Just cram it. It's just a structure. Just cram it. Cram what you are seeing here. Const, the function name equals to your parentheses where you're going to have your parameters, and then your arrow function, and then your curly braces. Then we say inside our function we want to have a lot of stuff. We are using curly braces because we want to have different instruction inside it, right? So we now have let's rest equals to my array.map. If I don't have this here, I will not have access to anything. If I say return array.id, I cannot have access to array.id because array.id is what is inside a function. It's inside a method, a block of code, right? And it's inside your map method. So we say my array, which is this that we used here, this our array. We say my array.map. Then the first one is what? An object which represents, we always say that this has to be a representation of each of the objects in the array. You can see it here. We have user ID, title, and body. So it represents each of the objects in the array. Okay. Why the second one is always was the ID, because each of these guys have an ID. Sorry, they have an index, which is 0, 1, 2, 3. I think we've talked about that a couple of times. So that's the index, right? So we are now saying I can say return array.id, doesn't really do me anything. But for the purpose of our training, we want to see how we can use index to return something in our map method. Okay, so I will now say if index plus 1 equal to, you guys remember that index always starts from 0. So we don't want it to start from 0. We want it to start from 1 in this case. So we want to say if index plus 1, which is going to start from 1, is greater than 14, then return array.id. That means if index plus 1 is not anything below 14, that's 13, 12, don't return anything for them, which is what we have here. Come in, let me set this. Let's res be equal to, then return res. Okay, which is what we have here. We have undefined for everything below, everything 14 and below. We have undefined for it, right? And then from 15, we are now getting what the array.id. That's just us trying to see how the if condition can work inside a map method. At the same time, you can say if index plus 1 is greater than 14, return array.id. You can now pass else. That means if they are less, if anything, if it is 14 downward, you can say return array.user ID, for example. So now we are going to get the user ID for the first set of our array, which is 1 to 13, 1 to 14, and then from 15, we are going to get what? Their index, their ID. Sorry, let's use title just to make it more meaningful. So now let's see. So we have from 14, we have the title, right? And then from 15, we have what? The ID. All right. So I can also say return empty. Just return empty string again, or return null. I can just say return null if it is not. So we are going to get null. So I'm trying to see how flat map works here. Come in. You don't have to worry about this. I'm just trying to check something. Okay. So any question on this? Let me come back again.
Sorry, simple sir.
All right.
Yeah, I think flat map is meant to be able to, for deeply nested arrays. I think that's what it's for, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, for a nested array.
Deeply nested array, like arrays that are nested inside,
Okay,
arrays that inside
inside.
another array,
Okay.
another inside another array.
Okay. I've been trying to understand what the flat map is about, but I've not.
That was just the simple analogy, just for an array that is inside another array that is inside another array.
Okay.
So you want to get, let's say now that there's a bigger array and there are like 3 other different arrays inside. For you to get the other 3 that is inside, that's when you use flat map. So just to get everything all together.
Okay. That makes sense. Thank you very much. All right. So now we say if index plus 1 is greater, return this, else return null, or we can say return array dot anything, right? Array dot title. So please, if you have any question, do you have any question on the structure? The first one is let. We just store this my array, the return and all of this thing inside this brace, right? And then we are returning this is the return statement for the function itself, for the testing function. Why this is the return statement for what? The map method. Any question? No question. All right. So now that is map. There are a lot of ways in which you can manipulate your map. There are a lot of things you can do about the map. But we are going to stop there for now because we have been doing map before. So let's see how we can check the second one. The second one is the indexes, right? So, well, that one is quite simple. It's just to check index. I think we've done that before. I can say I have function, let's say index here. Let's pass index here. Index here, right? I can say array, my array dot index of, right? Index of, just pass anything here. Index of, let's say 2. Let's just say index of 2 or 4. Yeah. Return this. So we can say CLG what is it? Index. All right, so this is how index works, right? My array.index of will look for is going to search for something. For example, let's say I have inside my array, let's create an array. Let's say const my array, new array. Let's just use this one. New ARR is equal to this. Let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, let me just copy it. Go here. All right, so I'm now saying I want you to return. Let's just assume something here. Let's assume something here. ARR. Then let's collect that one here. Let's pass it as a parameter. So I'm saying that this function, I want you to find inside this array. Look for 4 inside this array. Now return the index of that 4. Meaning that find in this array if there is any place that there is 4, right? Now return that index, return the index of that 4. That's what we want to see. If you cannot find it, if that index of cannot find anything like 4, then it's going to return what? -1. Let's see. Let's pass this new array here now so we can see what we're talking about. All right, so you can see here now we have 0, 1, 2, 3. So array.index of can find 4 in index of what? Index of 3. But if that 4 is not there, it's going to do what? It's going to return -1. That means it cannot be found. This method can also be used to just find something in an array. Let's say, okay, I have a string, I have a name, I have shoe, something like that. Show. So I want to find if there is show, if there is name in this array. Maybe someone just tell me that, oh, this array is like 1 million, but then we are looking for something. Is it really there? We want to know if that thing is really there in this array, right? You can use it for a condition that if index of is true, right? So we can now say array.index of, let's pass our name, right? So we get that this is number 7. So we can say if array, you can use this as a condition, right? If array.index of name is equal to -1, that means if it is not there, right? Now do something here. Let's say console.log not found, right? Or let's just return it instead. Return not found. Right? So it's saying that if array.index of name, that means look for this name in this array. Just find it, find the index. So if the index of this name is equal to -1, that means if you cannot find it, remember I said if it is not there, it's going to return -1. So if it is equal to -1, return not found, right? Else return found. So this one is going to return what? Found, because we have name already there. Name is also inside, and then this is going to return what? 7, because name is in index of what? 7. Are we together? So array.index of is a method. Array.map is a method. All of these things are array method to just check for. This is just for us to manipulate this our array. We are going to work a lot on array. There's nothing you can do as a front-end developer that you not work with array. At some point, some of the objects you create on your web page, you componentize it. Maybe you have cards, right? You have card that you want to display, so you just componentize it, make it one, and then you create an array for it, an array object. Sometimes your navbar, in some cases your navbar may be up to 5. You don't want to just repeat the list item, so you can create an array of objects for that and then map to it. So we are going to use array a lot, so we have to understand the use of array. So the first one here is array.map, which we have done already. We did it in our last task. It has to do with mapping through question, quiz, and all of that. The second one is to find the index. There are a lot of things in which you can use the index for. We have first index of, last index of, or many things, but we are not going to go to all of those ones today. So we're just going to focus on the index of. That means array.index of name. Look within this array. If you can find this name, then return the index, right? Returning the index, that's what this one does. So now if the return of that index is what? Is less than 1. That means if it cannot be found, then return not found. But then if it can be found, return what? Found. If I should remove this now, if I add s to it, then it's going to return not found. Because now name is not what? Is not inside this array. Any question on that? No question. That's interesting. Well, I'll just pick everything like that because we are getting out of time already, and we have just today and Thursday. If I'm not wrong, we have today and Thursday. Maybe next week we can have, I don't know if they're going to allow us to have more classes during the project. I don't know. We'll have, what I'm sure that we have now is today and Thursday, and I want to be able to cover some aspects of this array, right? It's going to be very useful for us, and we're going to need it very well. So this is just basically the array method. You can also say last index of and first index of, everything still boils down, right? Last index, where is it? First index of array dot last in what's wrong with this last index of something? I think that's it, if I'm not wrong. Last index of name, something like that, is equals to 1 or so. I can't really recall this last index, but that's it. That's basically, so this one is basically checking, it's going to check if you have one name. That means, okay, if I check for this name, I see it, right? That means I've seen one. But if this one is the last index of the name, that means if you don't have another name, last index of, if it is the last one, you don't have another name inside this array, then you do something, and then if not, do something. So, but I don't, let's just see how we can make research on the index in general. We have last index, first index, index of, and a lot of things about the index. All right, so that's just that about index. Now let's see the third one, the filter method. All right, filter method, from the name, it is used to filter an array. Filter means you have an array, and then you want to return only students. Let's say, for example, front-end students, and then we have scores for each of the students. And then maybe you want to return only the student that score above 50. Let's create that array for us. Let's say const array, const std equals to an array, then the object, let's say name, right? And then score. Let's say this one score 45, for example. Let's call this A. So I will just copy this. I can edit it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just like that. So let me use this as B, and then this as 85. Use this as C. Use this as 55. Use this as D. This as 95. This as E. And then this should be 65, for example. All right, so this data now is coming from the backend, right? I only want to display the students that score above 50. That's what I want to display. Only the student that score above 50. That's what I want to display. All right. So I could just say, remember, we have to use that ID, but then I don't really have time to create that ID. So let's create a function for that. And one thing I said earlier, it is good to have separation of concerns for our functions. You can just, this one that is testing, please give it a very good name. You can say, let's just use test map, right? Since we are testing our map method. So this one we can say test index. Yeah, I already said index. So let's just use test index. So it is good to have separation of concerns when we're talking about our function, and then use a very meaningful name that you can easily remember or identify that, okay, this is what this function is doing in particular. Okay, this will be small thing. All right, so the last one we can now say we want to filter, right, for students. So we can say const, remember arrow function in this case, const promotion, since if you score more than 50, it is assumed that you promote. Promotion student equals to this. So this is going to take an array, because like I always say, you have to make your function a reusable function. You don't want to pass a data directly inside it, right? I don't want to use this directly. I don't want to use std directly, because it could be, what if in some cases we don't have std? What we have is now, let's assume this is front end std, this front student. What if we are not talking about front end student anymore? What if it is now back end student? What if it's now UI student? So I don't want to be repeating the same function code every time. Instead of that, I will make this function a reusable function that will take a parameter, an array. This could be an array, it could be any name of your choice. Okay, so then I will now say my array, I want to filter, right? So let's just store this in something. Let's say filtered student, filtered std will now be equals to, what am I mapping to? What am I filtering? Remember, it is this array. This, I don't know it yet. I don't know what will be there, but I'm assuming that this promotion is only going to what, taking an array. If it is not taking an array, it's going to throw an error. It's going to take in an array. So I will say array dot filter. So I want to filter out some things. That means I don't need some, why I need some. So filter, take a couple of arguments, also a couple of arguments or parameter. But what we are going to be using now is just one. You can just use just one. So let's just say each, for example. Okay. So now say we can either use our return statement, or we make it a one-liner, right? Because we don't need to have a return statement. We're going to have a single instruction inside it. We've explained that before. When you are working with, when you have a single instruction in your method, right, you don't need to use your curly braces. Just call the function directly and then it's going to work, right? But then in the case where you have multiple instructions like if, or you want to have something, then you need your curly braces and then you have your return statement. But in this case, we don't need a return statement, nor do we need a curly braces. So we say each means that each of the objects, right? So what are we trying to check? We are going to check the score, right? Each dot score greater than 50, right? So, but should 50 pass? I think 50 should pass. So in that case, we say greater than or equal to 50. So here we say array.filter. Now array, I want you to filter out within yourself. So what are we filtering? We now represent each of the objects with what? With each. So we say if each dot, what I want you to filter is only the score that their score is greater than or equals to 50. So filter if each dot score, that means if each dot score is greater than or equals to 50. Now bring me all of those things. If I will say return filtered score now, filter students, and then I'll come here, I'll say CLG. I can assign this to something and I can just call it directly. Promotion std, right? But remember, this has to take what? An argument, which we don't know yet. So since we already created an array here, we call it front end student. So we just pass what? Front end students here. Front end, that's fnd std. All right. Okay, so I think I'm having an error somewhere. My Coca is not working anymore. Why? Testing is not defined. Okay, we change the name to something. Test map. All right, should be test map. Okay, so we are back. All right, so now looking at this, okay, that's how Coca works actually. If you have an error somewhere above, then other things will not work anymore because it's going to be redirecting or calling your attention to that error above so that you can fix that before other things will work. So now we have filter each, and if each dot score is greater than or equals to 50. Now let's take our console. We have 85, 55, 95, and 65. That's it. So, initially we are having what? 5 items here. You have 5 items here inside this front end. But now it's checking out, no, we have 6. So it's checking out 35 and 45 while it's bringing out all other ones. So that's filter. If I should say less than, let's just say less than or equal to, then it's going to remain just 2, the 35 and the 45. That's basically how filter works. Although filter can also be manipulated, we can have the index. If you want to get index, we can add index here also. Let's say you want to use index to do something, but that one is for later lectures. You can use index. You can have an array itself, the complete array here. The third one is always the complete array, which we will not be able to go into today. So let's just focus on this stage. So we are saying array, filter from yourself. In this case now, if I have multiple data, I can just easily pass that data to this one. Let's say I have another data, I'll call it UI student, for example. UI student. I will just have to create a UI student data and then pass it there. That's all. And then the function is going to run and then it's going to filter everything that we need. Any question on the filter? We only have 22 minutes to go. Any question on the filter? I know we have a lot of questions, but let's feel free to talk. If you are lost, please just drag me back. It's very easy. If you are lost, just call back the attention and then we can look at where it's actually not clear.
Yeah, sorry, Simple Soul.
Yes, sir.
I have to drop off now, but I've dropped the message for you on your WhatsApp.
Okay, all right, no problem.
Okay.
All right, so honestly, I need us to talk. I don't like this vibe. The energy is really not, it's not giving. What is going on, guys? Are we like totally lost or something? Oh my God, my people are not talking. Jesus.
I guess you all understand everything because I don't understand it, so I'm not understanding.
You get it right. You get what?
Yeah.
What about
I get
Abiri?
it.
I think you should repeat the filter again.
Again, Abiri, talk. I hear your voice.
I don't get, I beg.
You get, now you're lying. Okay, Sammy, what are you? What exactly? No, feel free to talk, with. I like it when we even raise concerns.
Boss, I think you should repeat the filter.
All right, we'll do that. Sammy.
Well, the thing is looking easy, but it's not that easy, chance. That's why the thing is not entering well.
It's not entering well, right? Okay. Well. Okay, let's try something. Let's try something. Yeah, let's try something like this. I think this should make it better. I'm going to come down slowly, like very slowly. So this is our data, okay? Sometimes, like I said, data, we don't really create data like this ourselves. We are getting data from the back end. So one thing you need to know first is, I need to know the structure of this data coming from the back end. That's the first thing. Now let's assume the structure of data coming from the back end is what? It's like this. So each of data is coming with an object of each of the students. We already know that before. So the name of the student, the score, and objects represent a particular person at a time. So we now have the name, the score, the name, the score, the name, the score. Now here is the thing. You have been given a task that I want you to collect the data from the backend. Oh no, create a function. Yeah, just create a function. We don't even know the data yet, but just create a function, right? That accepts an array with object, that accept array of object. And sorry, I forgot something. There's this person I've not been seeing, George. Not George, Gospel. I've not been seeing Gospel at all. I don't know. Is he okay? Has anybody been able to reach him recent time? I've not been seeing him.
That's just
Yeah, just is he on the call?
No, I'm not sure. He's not on the call, but he's all right.
It's all right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So now here's the thing. I want to filter my data with the score, with each of the students' score. They already told you that, okay, the structure of the data is going to come this way, because you need to know the structure before you can specify how you're going to do this. You understand? So now after getting that, you now say, okay, I'm creating the function. I created the function, I name it promotion student. Okay. So, well, the function is needed because there's going to be a button. After creating the function, there's going to be a button that you click on that will now promote all the students once. And you don't want to promote students that did not score up to 50. That's why we need the function. Okay, so now how do we do that? We filter. Filter is going to return an array of all the students that their score is more than 50. Okay, so we now say we created a function first. That function should take what? Should take what? A parameter, an array, right? So that when we are calling the function, we are going to pass that array that we need, that our data that we need, we are going to pass it in replace of this one as an argument. That's number one. Then secondly is inside the function now, we are passing instructions, okay? So we have instruction as array.filter, array. I want to filter out within yourself. So what am I filtering out? Then the callback function comes in. So you want to filter out, first thing you represent each of the objects with what? With a variable name, a parameter called each. We now say each.score. This one does not really need if, right? Does not really need if. That's why we say each.score is less than or equals to 50. But in this our case is greater than. So filter anything, any object that the each.score is greater than or equals to 50. So after the filter is done, it will now store the response to what? To filter data. And after storing the response here, we'll now do what? We return the response. So that's why we're able to get this one. It's very simple. Very simple. Array.map will just list out everything at once. Array.filter will filter the data to give you what you want. You specify, okay, this is what I want. So specify. If this is, let's say, greater than or equals to 100, because we don't have 100, then it's going to return what? No, an empty array. Okay, so in this case, we use 50. That's basically about filter. It's very simple. Array, you're calling the array. We can just do this. We can use front end because we already have the data. But like I said, if you are doing this and then you created the function, what if the new data that you want to use is what? Is UI student. That means you have to come and create this function again and pass UI student there, which is not making any sense. That's why we have to use a blind variable, which is called an array. And then anytime we are calling the function, we pass that data that we need here. Okay, I think that one is clear now. I want to believe that is clear. All right, now let's go to the next one, which is the find method. Find method. So we're going to do map. Okay.
Simple. Can I have a question?
Oh, yeah, no, go on, please.
Okay, please. Where you have.
Elijah, I can't hear you anymore.
Okay, sorry. Where you have that AR.
Okay.
Yes,
This one.
yes. Is it a like short form of defining an array?
Well, it could be anything. That one I'm just using ARR to make it faster. I could say data. I could use data. It's a variable name. It could be anything. I could say my data, my underscore data. It could be anything. Do you understand? So that ARR is just a name that I just gave.
Okay. So how will JavaScript recognize this data that you just put, my data, and then fetch it from?
Okay, here is the thing. I think you missed one of our classes that we talked about parameter. When you have something like this, when you have const, let's use normal function. Let's say function, let's say AB, right? So we pass the parameter here. So we now say, let's just say this one is A. All right, return A. Let me show you how that thing works now. So if I say, you know, this is a function, right, Elijah?
Yes, I know.
So here is my function name. So if I want this thing to show, what do? I'll have to call the function, right?
Yes.
Good. So if I say console, I want to call the function. Normally, calling the function will mean that I will do AB like this. This is calling the function.
Yes.
This is basically calling the function. But I need to see what this function is returning. That's why I have to say, I can save it somewhere. I can say let RSSF be equal to, I think I have rest somewhere up, so I'm just changing the name. RSSS equals to AB. Do you understand to this point?
Yes, yes, I do.
And I can now say console.log RSSS. So this is returning what? Undefined. Why? Because, you know, I said return A here, but A is what? A parameter. And A here is expecting something to be, this function that is taking a parameter has to take a parameter here also. So the fact that we are passing a parameter here, meaning that we have to pass something here. If I should say, I should just put DH here now. See, that means this is what? Is this. This TH is in place of what? A. And then we are returning the A, which is what? The TH. Right? So anytime we console.log our rest, which is AB this now, is going to give us what? TH. So it's more like when you have a parameter here, and then you are calling your function, the fact that you have a parameter, you're calling your function, then anything that you pass here is going to be seen as what? As your parameter here. The same thing is applicable when you say B. Let's say you say B, you now say return B. For now, it's going to be getting undefined because we don't have anything for B. This TH is what? Is for A. For you to have B, you have to put what? A comma here also, and then pass something here. You can now say AB. Then we get AB. So if each of this thing is just basically, okay, we have this as 1, then this is representing the first one. We have this as 2, this is representing what? The second one. So the same thing is applicable here. When we pass my date here, right? Since we are calling our function here and we are passing what? Front-end students as our data. So this is going to be saying this as itself. That means this is what is this. And then this is what is this. And then this is going to be filtering itself. That means this is the only thing that is doing all the filter and all of those things. You get? Yes, well, sir. While I'm using this is just while I'm using array just to make it unique, or will I say unique or generic, right? So I cannot say I cannot pass front end here because, like I said, what if I want to pass UI student? So I can just use my data so that automatically JavaScript to just represent this data to this. Now, see something. If I should try something like this, if I should do this, and then I put comma, then it's going to be getting undefined because now there's not, this is what we are seeing as front end, right? That means we don't have anything for my data. If we want to have anything for data now, we are going to say comma here also, and then pass something here for what? For our data. Did you get that now?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Okay, David, I saw your hand up. I like to get questions. I saw it. That makes me know.
Okay. Actually, my question is coming from this about what you said. We don't really need to pass an if statement. Like, you just go on writing the each.score greater than, you know. Yeah. So I just want to know, is it that maybe because we don't have more things to put in our if statement, that's why we do not use the if statement?
No, filter does not. Filter is just is an if statement on its own. That's how it is being programmed. It is an if statement on its own. Let's see that. Let's do this. So if you say this, now say, but we have to return it. You understand? Return. So this is it. So automatically, filter is an if statement because we are trying to filter something. So it is an if statement automatically. So you don't need to say if something is equal to something before you get your response. It's an if statement automatically.
All right. Okay.
Yeah. So, but then, you know, the curly braces will have to come with what? A return statement. So that's just it. Yeah, that's basically it. So let's see how we can jump on find. We are going to use the same thing also for finding. So in this case, we want to find one thing, just one single thing. You use find to find a single thing, or you use filter to filter out multiple arrays, right? When you're using find, well, for me, I like to use find because there are two different things that both of them do. Let's see that. Let's see how we can use find now. Let's say const find item equal to this. So I'm creating a function to find something. Now I'll say item, for example. I'll not say let's find it equal to find it be equals to. Why I actually know that this time has been missing is because sometimes when I make a mistake in text like that finding that I said, it's going to call my attention back. So find it equals to item. That item is an array, remember, or let's just use my data still so we don't get confused. My data, so this is also taking my data, it's taking an array. No, my data dot find. The same process as find. I would say the same process for map, method, and all of those things. So they will always take what a parameter that would represent each of the objects. So I would say each again, but because I don't need an index, it's just one item, so I don't really need to put it inside a parenthesis. So I would say each. So what are we finding now? Each dot score is equal to 50. For now, we don't have anything that has 50. Everything is what? Okay, nothing is 50. So if you say, let's return this find now.
Excuse me, sir, your item is supposed to be a capital I. Find item.
Bless you. Thank you. All right. So we say return find it, right? All this naming is just something I'm just cracking. Please, when we are doing our own, let's try as much as possible to use accurate name. This could be find item or something interesting that you can easily understand. All right, now let's say CLG find item. Then we are going to pass something because remember we passed a parameter here, so we definitely need to pass something here. So what are we passing? And a function. Don't forget, if you are dealing with a function and you want to call it, you have to use your parentheses. There's nothing that will make you not use your parentheses. See, you have to use your parentheses. If you did not use your parentheses, it's going to throw one thing like that. See, find item. This is not correct. It's just telling you, okay, this is the function, right? So, but then if you need the parentheses, then it's going to say, okay, that's when the function will run itself. So what are we passing now? We are passing front-end student. So, but for now, there's nothing like 50. So it's returning undefined. But in this situation, I don't want to have undefined. I want to have something like not found or not available or something like that. Can someone suggest what I can do in this case? Instead of having not found or undefined, I want to have a meaningful response so that I can tell the person that's looking for this thing that, okay, this value cannot be found. Please. Suggestions.
You use an if statement.
Thank you.
You
So
use
how
an
do
if
I do that?
statement.
How do I do that?
You say if.
So should I remove the return or after the return or where?
I think you remove the return.
Okay. All right. So we say if
each does score is.
Is it? Am I doing it correctly? Remember, each dot score is not accessible outside the find method. Each dot score is within the find and find ends here. So I cannot access each dot find or each dot score outside.
Okay, let me come in.
Okay.
Let's do if find it.
If find it, okay. All right.
Is equal to undefined.
Is equal to it's equal to undefined. Okay. So undefined should be a string or a normal listing.
It should be a normal.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go on. I don't help you on that. Okay. Let's go. What do we do?
Okay. If find it is equals to undefined, return a string saying unavailable
or not found instead.
or not found. Yeah.
Okay.
Not found. You write no found.
Else.
Not found. Okay. Okay. Else.
Else return
Else.
found.
Return found.
I want to return what I found. I don't want to return found.
Okay. Like I don't really get it. You want to return what
I want to return what I'm finding. I want to return what I was.
You return find it now. You return find it.
Thank you. I like this. I like this contribution. That's it. Although I like this, this is very okay. But there's something about data and the structure of data. We have undefined. Let me show us before. Let's see that undefined is what is a falsy value. I don't want us to be coding like newbies. So we have undefined as a falsy value. We have null as a falsy value. False. We have a 0 as a falsy value. A 0 is also what? A falsy value. What I mean by falsy value means when you say if undefined, then it's false, meaning that we don't need this guy anymore.
Yeah, we can just change the Boolean value.
Exactly. Not like exactly. You can just say if find it. That means if find it, if we're able to find this, then that means if it is true, right? Then return find it. Else, I will explain that. Else return not found. See? Because remember, this is initially returning what? Undefined. So we now say if find it. This find it in this case is what? Undefined. And undefined, like I said, is what? What kind of value is undefined value? It's a falsy value. That means this statement, this condition is what? Is false. Undefined is what? A falsy value. So this condition that I say, if find it, that means, okay, what is find it currently? Find it is what? Is undefined, right? So if undefined, which is a falsy value, that means if undefined is a falsy value, return find it, right? If find it, that means if find it is true. Okay, let's break it down again. Let's come back again. This, like this, is returning false. Let's do that. Return find it. George, can you mute yourself, please? All right. So here we have return find it, which is returning what? Undefined. That's number one. Now we say that undefined is a falsy value, which brought us to this one that we now say if undefined, if find it. That means if find it is true, if it is not undefined or null or is 0, if it is not any falsy value, if find it is what is true, and it can only be true if it is returning a digit which is greater than 1 or less than 1. Greater than 0 or less than 0. So if find it is equals to true, then return the find it. That means if it is returning something meaningful, that is what? That is true. Else return not found. But because it is returning what? Undefined, then this one is what? Is not true. So it's definitely going to come down here and return not found. Is that clear?
No.
All right, let's go with the one you guys did. Let's go with the one you guys did. I think that one is cooler. But this is the best practice. No, let's explain. This is the best practice. I don't want us to code like, well, we are newbies, I understand, but then still, when we have the opportunity to just understand the best method, let's just grab it. So let's come again. So we are saying, let me try this. I want to say if undefined. If undefined, then return, or let's say CLG first, right? Else CLG second, first SSA or something like this. So undefined is what? Is a falsy value. So already, as you are saying if undefined, it is definitely returning what? A false. This is what? A false value. So it is not going to what? It's not going to give us this console.log. What is a false value? False value are undefined, something that is false, that does not make sense. So if I say if 10, then it's going to return true, because anything, yeah, let's try a 0. I think a 0 is also a false value. Yeah, a 0 is a false value. So anything greater than a 0 or less than a 0, let's try. Yeah, anything greater than 0 or less than 0 is what? A truth value. But anything undefined is 0 or null is what? A false value, as you can see here. So this condition now is checking that if what you have here is true, definitely it's just a simple thing. If I say let me be equals to true, so instead of me saying let me be equals if me equals to true again, I can just say if me, meaning that me is what? Is true. So if me, meaning that if it is true, then console.log this, else console.log this. But because me is what? Is true, then it's going to return this. And what can make me to be true is when me is what? Is not undefined. If it is undefined, then it's definitely going to be what? False. So me is what? Undefined, and then is what? Is returning this. So if it is what? If it is null, it's also going to be what? False. But if it is a letter or a number, let's say 89, then it's going to be what? True. So the same thing is applicable here. Find it is what? Is returning what here? Undefined. So we are saying if find it, meaning that if find it is what? Is true. But in this case, it cannot be true because it is what? Undefined. It's basically us saying if undefined here. That's the meaning. So it is what? It is not true, then it's definitely going to come down to this place. All right. So that's what we are saying, that if find it, that means if it is true, then return that find it. And what can make find it true? Again, remember, the only thing that can make find it true is if it is returning a meaningful data, if it is returning a digit which is greater than 1 or greater than 0 or less than 0. But then if it is not returning any of those things, then it is what? It is false. Then it's going to return false. Oh, yeah, questions? Someone wants to ask something? Oh, we are all good, right? Fine. So let's use.
It's clear now.
Eh?
It's clear now.
All right, thank you. Let's pass this as 55 now. Then we are going to get what? That thing. We are getting what? Name. So this one is finding the entire object, right? So we say, let find be equals to my data.find. H equals to h.scored equals to 55. So if you can find this thing, okay, return the object. That is returning just one thing. Return that thing that you were able to find. So find it, else return not found. Why do we use find in some cases and not filter in some cases? In the case where we can use find, filter also in this case, right? If I should say filter, but filter will do something that we may not like. See, filter is returning the same thing, but in an array format, right? This is an array bracket, so it's an array format. So if you use find, it's going to return it as what? An object format, normal object. But why do we use find instead of filter? Because when you are working with 1 million data, right, and you only want to get one thing, just one thing you're looking for, if you use filter will search the entire data. Then when it gets to that particular one, let's say it has seen the 55 already, it will not stop there, because filter will look for every object that has that thing. So it's going to keep going until it gets to the last item in that array before it will now return that one that you wanted to find for you, right? But that will take a long time. It is not efficient for us to do it that way, because we can't be searching 1 million data. That will take a long time. Take like too much of processor to find that, to look for that. So instead of that, we use the find method. Find. As soon as find has been able to realize, okay, this is what I'm looking for, then it's going to come back immediately and return that thing. Instead of filter that will keep searching and search downward, right? Find will stop there. As soon as it's find that thing to stop there, and then it's going to return. immediately. So that's just different between find and filter. But you cannot use find if you need a couple of items. Let's say something greater than or equals to. You don't use find. You use what? Filter. But we use find when you want to look for just a single item in the object. Are we clear? Are we clear? I believe you are clear. All right, so let's try the last one for today. What time is it now? Okay, so let's try the last one, the sort function. Sort me. Let's just use sort. Right, so it's going to take what? An array also, for example. Right, we now say the same process, although this may be a little bit different. Let's say sort it be equal to, so let's try with number first. Const num equals to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let me use 3, 5, 2, 5, 9. Let's say 11 here, 12. So we want to sort this thing. Sort means rearrange it in alphabetical order, descending or ascending. Sorry, I said alphabetical. We just rearrange it descending or ascending order, just for it to just sort normally how it's supposed to be. So here we have sort it. So we say array dot sort. That's that one. And that one will take what? 2 parameters. You can either say array dot sort directly. This will work fine, but it's not best because when you need to go in depth with the sort method, this will only work for numbers. When you need to go in depth, let's say you are working with letters, right? Alphabet. How will you sort it? Then you have to go in depth inside the sort. Let's return the sort it first. Let's see what happens. Let's say CLG. No. CLG. What are we doing? Sort, and then we take what? Num. So we get it. Okay, it's not even working. Array dot sort is not even working, right? That means we have to just go deep in depth of it. So we say it takes 2 parameters. I was thinking it's going to be arranged automatically, but then look at what it's saying. See now, it's seeing each of these items as one. If I this sort is really funny. It's seeing this as one because we have 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 5, and 9. If I should remove this now and make it 8, it's going to rearrange it normally. But we don't want that. What if we have 11, we have 11, we have 45 and all of those? So it's going to be arranging it like in a very unpleasant manner. As you can see now, it's rearranging 1, 1 before 2 and then 4, 5 before 5 and all of that. So we need to go deep inside of it. How do we do that? Array.sort takes 2 parameters. It takes the A, that's the first value A, and the second value B. It's just a representation. You could say first value, you say first and then second, just anything that you want to use. But it's easier to just use A and B. Most persons will use A and B. So we have 2 ways in which you can do this. We can either say A dot local compare. Let me not go into this first. So we can say if A is greater than B, return 1, else -1. That would be very complicated for us, but let's see how it works. A greater than B, right? 1, else -1. So here is the explanation. Here is the explanation. Let's not use template literal. Or let me see how I can just explain that also. This one I'm using I'm using a chaining method of condition. I've forgotten what they call it exactly, but it's a chaining method. I think we did it in our free code camp, if you guys can remember. We did something like this in our free code camp. So this is how it works. It's also a condition. We have if A, then CLG, if A, CLG A, else CLG B, for example. Let me use a string. Okay, so we are saying that if A, and you know A is true now because it's a normal letter, it's a meaningful data. So if it is true, we consider Lord A. But in this case, I don't want to go all this stress. It's too much. What if there's a way I can chain it and make it just a single line? That's where the chain method comes in. Yeah, I forgot, it's something operator, chaining operator or something, I can't really remember. So we say A.
Array operator.
Array operator. No, that's not it.
Ternary.
Ternary operator. Thank you very much. That's just it. Ternary operator. Right. So now it's just linked, instead of having if and else statement, it links everything together in one single line. So in this case, we are saying A. If A, right, then CLG console.log A, else CLG B. The same thing that is happening here is the same thing that is happening here. The same thing that is going on in this condition is the same thing that is going on in this condition. But here is how it works. We are saying that if A, we remove the if here. So we are saying A with that question mark. Question mark means anything question mark means you are asking that question. That means if you say boy, it's just normal English, normal English. If you say boy, that means you're asking someone that, okay, is this person a boy? Or is this thing a boy? Or is this boy? That's just the meaning. Because of the question mark, it's normal English language. So you say boy, that means, is this a boy? So we say A, is this A? So if it is A, then console.log A. Else, this is the else statement here. Else, console.log B. What is not clear here? Let me just know what is not clear. It's just simple as saying A, asking the question instead of this if statement and all of these things. A, then you add a question mark to that to check that, okay, if A, is this A? Then if it is A, then console.log A. Else, if it is not A, console.log B. So it's as simple as that. Yeah. So let's come back to this. The same thing is happening here. We are saying if A is greater than B, that means we have something like this. How sort works is going to take this as A first, and then take this as B, since we are getting two parameters, the first one and the second one. If A is greater than B, that's the first thing, then 1, that means bring A to be 1, and then else minus 1, that means take B to the back. Let's do that in a simple layman way. We'll say, let's check the first one, 1 and 3. So if 1 is greater than 3, right? If if 1 is greater than 3, okay, then make it 1, and then else, that means if B is greater than, then minus 1. So we have the first thing will now be 1. So secondly, we will now check again. In this case, after we are done with 1, now go to number 2. This will now represent A now, and this will represent B. So if A again is greater than B, take it to the 1. Else, if this 1 and minus 1 is just arrangement, the first one and then the minus 1, the first one and then the minus 1. It's just a basic arrangement stuff. You can either say this for a descending order or say this for an ascending order. So here we are saying if A, which is this, is greater than B, then arrange it, let A be 1 and then let B be minus 1. Okay, so after that, go to the next one. If A is also greater than B, again, check again which one is bigger than each one. So the one that is bigger, we go to the back. The one that is smaller, we come to the front. So 5 is bigger, right? So it's going to go to the back, right? And then come back to the front. That's just it. This will stay at the front, this will go to the back, normal. Now we come to this one, 2. We will now check again. Is 2 greater than 5? You say no, it is not. What will happen? Then it's going to bring 2 to the front of 5. Then it will not stop there. Check again. Is 2 greater than 3? Yes. Sorry, it is not. Then it's going to carry 2, bam, to this place. So that's how it's going to continue. Now it's now check again. Is 2 greater than 1? No, it is not. Then it's going to remain there. It's going to stay there. Right? So we'll now come again here, 11. Is 11 greater? Just keep arranging. If it is greater, then it's going to stop there. Then that's just the base of sort method. You say A greater than B, If it is greater than B, then 1. Arrange it, else minus 1. Don't worry about all the idea of how this things work. By the time you start using it properly, you understand how it works better. But for now, array.sort takes 2 parameters, A and B. And then you check, you just basically compare the two of them. If A is greater than B, right? If A is greater than B, then bring B. That means we want that B to come in front. All right, bring B to in front and take A to the back. Since A is greater than B now, the greater than will always come to the back. But then if you want to have a descending, we say less than. So if A is less than B, bring B to the front, and then just like that, the arrangement, however you want to have it. Is that clear?
It will be clear if we repeat it again.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I've already said it's clear. Nice word. All right, so we say array.sort takes into parameter A and B. Then remember our normal arrow function. So that's what we have, because we only have a single instruction, so we don't need that. But let's see if we don't even, let's say we want to do it like this, right? So we can say if A is greater than B, right, then return 1, else return minus 1. So this works the same way. Instead of using our I've forgotten again, our chaining method, which someone called, what did they call it again? Remind me again, please. I always forget that thing. The chaining method. Ternary operator. I thought to say canario. Ternary operator, yeah. So so this, instead of using our ternary operator, we are breaking it down. Okay, so we are saying if A is greater than B, return 1. 1 and minus 1, like I said, is basically a means of arrangement. If it is minus 1, okay, if it is minus 1, it's going to come to the front. If it is 1, goes to the back. Minus 1 means reduce, just jump. You know, when you're dealing with minus 0, minus sum, jump to the next one, or just jump one person and minus yourself by 1. Else, then 1 will take you to just like increase your space. It's more like, let's say this. First thing is 1 and 0, right? If 1 is greater than 0, right, then 1 will go to 1, and then 0 will come. 0 will like jump to the front, but it's still 0 and 1. So we're going to leave it like that. 0, it is correct. So we'll go to the next one, which is 3. Is 3 greater than 1? Yes, it is greater than 1. So it's going to remain as 1. It's not going to leave where it is, right? So we'll go to 5. Is 5 greater than 3? Yes, remain there. Now we'll go to 2. Is 2 greater than 5? Yes, it is greater than 5. So we are going to bring 2 here first, because it's going to minus 1, remember. Initially 2 is here, but because 2 is greater than 5, because 5 is greater than 2, sorry, I'm checking the first one to the last one. Because 5 is greater than 2, then 2 will come here. This is 2 and this is 5. So 2 will always minus 1. So we're going to take 2 away from here. We add it here. That's minus 1. So we check again. Is 3, which is the A, is it greater than 2 again? Yes, it is. So we take 2 away from there again and bring it here, right? So we check again. Is A, which is 1, greater than B now, which is 2? No, it is not. Then 2 will remain there. And that is how it is. So if we have something else, let's say we have 4 somewhere here, then we are going to check again before the 11. Let's put it here. We're going to check again if now we have 4 here, right? Because 2 don't come off for this middle, so it's now 4. Is 5, which is A. This one that you are comparing, you always start with this, the previous one. Is 5, which is A, greater than 4? Yes, it is. So 4 will take what? Minus 1. Why 5 will take 1? 5 will jump, 4 will come back. So we say 4, right? And then 5. That is just it. That's everything about sorts. Are we clear now? But one way in which we can manipulate sort is, what if I want to sort this, my data here, this one here? This one is an object, remember, it is not a number. It is not a number, or sorry, a simple array. It is not a simple array like this one that we are using here. It's not a simple array. Let's try this. Const. Let's use ABC was alpha equal to, let's use A, D. Let's see if this works also. D, F, B, right? So let's see how it works. Then E. So we pass, what do we pass? Alpha. What did I say? Alpha, L. Okay, so as you can see, A, B, D, E, F. So this one works for both the letter and for the number. So it's going to keep checking. JavaScript will always understand because JavaScript knows ABC. So it's going to check should A be before B, should A be before, and all those arrangements just going to rearrange itself. But now what we're trying to say is, I want to filter this one like this by the score. Sorry, I want to sort this object by its score. So I want the ones that are smaller. I want to start from smaller down to the highest. And it is an object, remember. So how do I do that? Remember, this represents A, while this represents B for every time. So when we move to the next one, this represents A, this represents B. You get? So now our sort now will now take A dot B. Where is it? A and B, which is, this is the first object, this is the second object. But we want to compare the score inside the first object with the score inside the second object. What do we do? What do we do? Someone, A dot score, because remember, we have score inside the first object. Then if it is greater than B dot score, that's what we need now. So this one will not work anymore. So what do we pass now? We now say CLG, sort, and then we pass what? Our front end. What is it? What is the name of that guy? Front STD. Okay. Front STD. Right? So now this is what we say. We are entering inside our object. Remember, A is what? Object 1. This is only applicable to sort method though. A is the first object because we have to compare two objects together. So A is the first object, while B is what? The second object. We want to go into the score. That's what we want to use to compare each of them. So we are saying if A dot score, which is the score of A, is greater than B dot score, then rearrange it, return 1, else return -1. Now, if we check our console now, we are going to see the arrangement as it is being done properly. Now we have A 35, 45, 55, 65, 85, and 95. Right? It's as simple as that. We can do the same thing for name also. We can say A dot name is bigger than A dot name if we want to filter sort it by the name, right? So we say that A dot name, and then that we can now, so we can now have it like this. But JavaScript will always take numbers first before letters, which is what is happening here. So you say for, remember, this is now arranged using their name. For A, A1, B, C, and D. Any question? Today's class is really bulky, but we won't be able to go deep down to all other things. We still have a lot to talk about. So we're going to jump on this ones later on Thursday. Any question? We are 30 minutes above our time. So we're going to end the class now. If there's no question, thank you very much, guys.
So please, they should drop the video earlier so that we can go through it again, because like this, I don't start to get headache.
Sorry, bro. I know
I wanted to say the same thing. Just send it to us directly instead of waiting for YouTube.
Yes.
No, the video is being recorded. Let me stop the recording first. No.